back to the end of another week. We're out in the yard. I'm just going to take you on a quick tour because quite a bit went on. You might see all the pink lines. That's because prior to having the guy dig up the driveway to extend the water, he had I don't know what they're called, one of those guys with the dowsing rods come out to like hunt for water. I think it's a bunch of BS. If you believe it, like, that's your thing. But anyway, long story short, we paid some money to have somebody out to use their dowsing rods and find their water. That guy claimed that the water was like 60 centimeters or 2 feet below the grade. Didn't turn out to be the fact. It's actually only like 20 centimeters or less than a foot below grade. So our contractor went with his big digger thing and of course promptly broke our water lines. So that was fun. But all that being said, we now have this green box, and inside, can I open it? Yeah. Oh, inside, ta-da! We have the water. So basically, this goes to the house, this goes to the source water, and that goes behind the driveway into what will be any future glorified barbecue area that we have. So we still have the trap door in the kitchen. We're not going to get rid of that. It's just that now we don't have to rely on that. We can actually come out here and shut off the water there. And the guy, dug up the driveway, dug up the grass so that he could mount this tubing. So this is the tubing that they use. It's just plastic, blue for water. It's like hard. It's almost like PVC, but it's not quite as rigid. So that's the tubing that they used. And then the idea here is that obviously we have this concrete box, which is collecting water. And this is going to be another water source. So if and when we decide to build out the glorified kitchen barbecue area here, at least we already have water. All that being said, this got quite dug up. There's tons of rocks and stuff. I did order myself some clover seeds because I want to try to overseed all of this with clover. But I think I have to come out and kind of like collect all the big rocks or maybe clean it up just a little before I do that. But that's what's happening there. And then I'll take you around the back. Here we have these blocks because I think they were left over, and we're thinking about basically going ahead and extending the driveway and replacing all of this wood with blocks going up there, which is why they're here. Last week I didn't show you the orchard extension, but I'll show you now. So originally we were going to put a shed in this area here because we're out in Farmville and we thought that wouldn't be a problem. However, apparently if we lived in town, the like space that you have to leave between any building and the property line is 1 meter or 3 feet. However, in Farmville, apparently we actually have to leave 3 meters or about 9 feet between the fence and any structure that we want to build. And we think that's just because like when they come through to farm all this corn, like they do bring in big machinery. And so they don't want like a structure that goes right here just in case their machinery like comes over the fence. Anyway, long story short, we cannot put a shed here. So I went ahead and extended the path with the mulch that I took from the alleyway up there. And now I have room for potentially 2 more trees. So I'm thinking about what trees I want to plant down here, and I haven't made a decision yet, but that's another project. And speaking of projects, these are things that I pulled out of the carport here. I'll take you in because I never show you this stuff. So this is actually the back end of our driveway. So like Francis's car is way over there, and the driveway that I was just at is over there. And this is the back end of the carport. So this is the area that I'm commandeering as mine for my gardening. And now it looks like a mess because we had a bunch of stuff stacked up here and a bunch of stuff stacked up there. So this is a project that I'm working on, and maybe by next week this will look better. But right now it looks like a disaster. But just for context, there you go. The concrete, nothing much happened, but we do have the path that, like I say, goes all the way up. Actually, I wanted to show you this. Our apple tree is very confused. But yeah, we have some beautiful apple blossoms in the middle of September. Those are not supposed to be there. But I've read online that sometimes, since we just planted these in January, apparently when you bring these new youngish trees into a new space, if they haven't experienced like a first winter, they get kind of confused. So those will obviously die and not result in anything. I just thought it was funny and I thought I'd show you. Moving back up in the garden, this is the alley. They backfilled with a bunch of, with a bunch of mud. It's been raining, obviously. But yeah, so they put in the gutter, the ground gutter at least, and the ground gutter comes into here, and it looks like, fortunately or unfortunately, probably unfortunately, this pools up with water, which isn't great mosquito wise, but yeah, this is our new like little gutter clean out. From the roof comes in here, from the floor comes in here, and then all of this drains under the property all the way to the very end, where it eventually siphons back out to the road and into the ditch. So that was all made. Concrete work is supposed to be happening this week. However, it is raining, so I'm not sure exactly what's going to happen there. Beasts are digging up everything. Up in the garden, I got around to clearing out some of the brassica stuff. The beasts are actually digging under here and bringing my expensive potting soil out of the bed and into the path. I actually collect all this and put it back in, but that's just kind of annoying. This is my volunteer tomato, which is already getting kind of like the nasties from blight, but we may actually get some tomatoes. Look at that. I'm leaving it in place because why not? This other monstrosity of a tomato there, I'm also leaving in place because why not? This bed, I had left this one sun gold, and Unfortunately, none of the fruits really like matured because of the fungus. It's all crap. There's maybe 3 or 4. So this tomato is going to go away. We are still getting some zucchini. We're definitely harvesting more beans, so that's awesome. And I think I need to come through and harvest a bunch and actually like freeze them or something. These snap peas are coming in, and it's on my list to plant some more peas over there. The lemon balm, I actually have plans to propagate that because I have a lot of chicken plans that I'm going to share with you in just a minute when we get over there. But yeah, the garden's basically doing its flip. I have like peppers that I need to get out. There's more lemon balm here. Actually, there's probably enough lemon balm around that I can just like take this out of that pot because the pot's confining it, and then plant it in the chicken area. But let me go ahead and move over to the chicken area, and I'll tell you my plans for the chicken area because that's kind of exciting. Okay, so we're actually inside the chicken pen. I don't often come all the way inside here for y'all, but I've been working. They're like, ooh. Sometimes they like, yeah, they sort of like let me pet them, but oftentimes they just run away. Anyway, we're in the pen, and my bright idea is that I've ordered 2 wooden raised beds that I'm going to mount along here up to their door and along here. This compost area is actually going to migrate inside their coop and still serve as like kind of a pre-compost system. So basically all of the compost, kitchen scraps and stuff go in there, and the chickens have first dibs. And then once in a while, I'll empty all that stuff out and put it into our other compost area. So that's going to move inside their coop. And under here, there's going to be the 2 beds, which will then be covered in this mesh, this like 1-inch square mesh, so that I can sow seeds to let them grow, but then the mesh will protect them from the chickens scratching up everything and destroying it. And then as things grow up through the mesh, they'll be able to like nibble off the tops. That's the theory. So we'll see what happens in reality. But I do have the 2 beds on order. They will be showing up eventually, and when that happens, they will get set up in here. I've discovered that they do not like the salvia at all. I protected it, like in here. It does actually have a wire protection because I was worried that the chickens might eat it, which obviously they don't. So I actually do have to come through and like shave this down because it's getting ridiculous. Of course, now that I say that they don't eat it, she's like, watch me, I'm going to eat it. Other than that, I had mentioned that I was going to do a seating area up here, which is still the plan. So I still have a plan to order another one of these benches. It'll get mounted here. I'm going to plant some plants behind it in the corner, and then basically have like a little corner area of plants with a bench. So that's going to be seating. And then over here, I'm actually planning to propagate the comfrey that's in the orchard. So I'll throw up a photo of the comfrey. They're like these old prehistoric dinosaur looking plants. I like them. Some people don't like them. But I have another roll of this bark privacy screen. So the idea is that I'm going to continue to put the bark privacy screen up there, I think. And then I'll have Balking 14 comfrey planted along here. So it serves two purposes. One, they can actually eat it and it's fine. It's super nutritious for them. Two, I can cut it back multiple times a year and use it for compost, which is great. But then three, it actually has a giant taproot. So this ground here is all like starting to come apart because one, there's no plants. Two, the chickens are always scratching up in here. And three, fundamentally, we're on a slope. So this whole pen, this is the high point, and it slopes down to the chicken coop. So obviously, as they do anything up here, as they scratch in the mulch, as they dig the dirt, all of this has a tendency to want to roll downhill. So I'm constantly picking up mulch from down there and bringing it back up here. That's fine. I don't really mind doing that. It gives me something to do in here with them. But ultimately, I am a little concerned because you can see here where there isn't the privacy screen, they do try to peck as far as chickenly possible through the fence. So I'm not only dealing with completely bare ground on this side, but I'm also dealing with like completely bare ground, probably about a foot into the other side of the fence line. So I think having the comfrey here with the very long tap roots will help stabilize this area, because ultimately it goes from like one level and then there's probably about 6 to 8 inches on an upward slope to the level that the corn over here is all planted at. So the corn is at a higher elevation than we are right here. And like I say, it's not so much so that I'm worried about a landslide or anything, but I do just want to kind of reinforce this because I don't want them to eventually be able to get underneath it super easily. And I didn't bury the fence down. So I'm hoping that will just help mitigate any loss along here. Plus, I think it'll look really nice. And then the other, like the lemon balm and other things from the garden that I'm thinking about propagating in this space would basically end up like going around the different plantings that I already have just to fill it in and make it look nice. The girls are over there preening themselves. It's been raining, so yeah, they look like crap, but it's okay. Anyway, that is about it. I don't have much more to report with things being planned. However, hopefully next week we'll have concrete around the house. We may or may not have the beds going on in here or the relaxation space over here. But my new motivation is definitely to get more things going in this chicken area. So yeah, if you have any ideas for the chicken area, feel free to drop them and let me know. But otherwise, those are the plans for right now. And I hope you had a good one, and I will see you next week. Bye.